Welcome to the Relancer Podcast, where we talk about talent acquisition topics. I'm Eero, the co-founder of Relancer, the platform where employers connect with freelance recruiters. Today we have Dov, and we're talking about generative AI in recruitment. Welcome, Dov.
Hey, hello, Eero. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, I was thinking when was the first time we met? I wasn't actually sure. I was thinking if it was the first sourcing summit in Estonia I think you were a speaker in there, or was it before? Do you remember?
I believe that you actually picked me up from the airport in Estonia.
Yeah, it might be because I was volunteering actually back then. So in a way, it was super good because I was able to pick up the speakers, get to know them, speak them on the way. It was like a super good experience that I could get access to these amazing people. Uh, but one of the things that I have noticed during the time I have known you is that you're this adapter, like you adapt fast, and it seemed to be that you're a quite quick learner because when I met you, everybody was talking, okay, Dov was the new guy who was super interested in sourcing and he was learning, and then in few years you were speaking already in the sourcing summit. So that means you progressed and learned super fast. So that was super interesting to see.
Well, thank you. I take that. I think that Piret was also one of the people who truly inspired me, and she was not only hosting the sourcing summit in Estonia, but she was also organizing, and she was the person who actually brought the event to Estonia. So it's really awesome to be part of such a amazing international sourcing community as well. So, but at the same time, you have to evolve, and there are so many things to do. And I feel like I've been jumping into a lot of different elements throughout the years. So yeah, I think that today we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. And also I noticed that you took part in Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within. I know a friend who also participated 2 years ago. And it's probably a huge and amazing event. How would you describe the event?
It is an overwhelming experience. It took me 4 years of patience to actually get to the event because of the pandemic and everything. I originally bought the tickets at the end of 2019, and it only happened
Mm.
in real, kind of in person in July last year. Um, I already experienced the two virtual events because they did it as a free event for the ticket holders. But in person, it was madness. There are a lot of moments when it's overwhelming. You meet a lot of really cool people in one place. In a way, it's like going to a sourcing kind of community event, or also, um, it's TEDx, for example, also another really good example. It's when you meet really a lot of like-minded people who want to grow, who want to change. Yeah, it's something that I recommend to experience at least once, and especially walking on fire. That was crazy when you have 10,000 people at around 11 p.m. Straight away take off their shoes and you walk outside, and everybody is walking on hot coals. It's insane.
There must have been a lot of fire for 10,000 people. That had to be huge.
I mean, you
It's
go
quite
in groups.
interesting.
The actual walk on fire was rather short. It's like 6-7 seconds. I mean, it's like 10 steps or something. But because you're so primed and you're
Yeah.
so in the zone, the whole preparation for that was about an hour, of Tony just really pumping us with energy, with self-talk, that you can actually do it, because you wake up in the morning and you realize, oh my God, today I'm going to walk on fire. And you're freaking out the whole day, really not waiting for that. So yeah.
Interesting. I have it in my to-do list. I haven't done it. I don't know when I will, but
The
definitely
time will
would
come.
be. super interesting to try it out, like to walk on fire. So in 2020, you were the Sourcing Summit Hackathon winner. It's in a way fancy title, and then of course something that shows that you have put a lot of effort in what you do. So why did you decide to transition? Like, so basically you were a very good talent sourcer, probably in top, like, I don't know, 5% in the world, maybe, who knows? But now you have transitioned into helping individuals and businesses start using generative AI.
It's really crazy because I don't think I ever considered myself being really good sourcer. It just like I it just happened that I started attending sourcing events and speaking and sharing my stories and experiences and failures. However, in reality was comparing myself with people who've been in the business 10, 15 years longer than me. So if you're in that comparison, you will never be good enough. So I was kind of imposter. I was my really good friend. Now my best friend is ChatGPT, and you know, we're achieving so many insane things. The transition, it was rather bizarre because even in 2020, in 2021, I made a decision to walk away from sourcing. I really wasn't in a healthy space when it comes to, not really feeling like you're contributing to the business. The sourcing takes a lot of time, and you really want to feel that, I've done good or I've done enough to the business. Um, and I took a decision to focus on building music communities and other things. And then at the beginning of 2022, I said to myself, you know what? I wanna give it another go. And I reached out to my collaborator and my manager, and I said, if there's any project, let me know. And we had a really cool 6-month project, and I feel that it potentially might have been my last sourcing project. However, you know, in that time, in the last 2 years, I relocated twice. I lived in Bulgaria and Lithuania, and generative AI just launched. At the beginning, everybody started talking about it at the beginning of last year, and I fell for it. And because I didn't really work, as a full-time thing, I had a lot of time to kill, so I was able to really dive deep and to sometimes spend even 6 or 7 hours a day playing with it and trying to find different use cases. Um, and yeah, and since July, I just fell into sharing tips and tricks and training others on how to best use it. And everything just spiraled out of that.
Yeah, I remember also, like, when it came out, it was of course, like, a lot of hype.
Yeah.
And then in a way, like, nobody knew what were the limits and then what were the possibilities. I actually took a course on it, like how to use it in business, and it was in a way super useful. Like, and I played around with it a little bit, and then I use it, like, I wouldn't say so often that, like, everybody probably, or not everybody, like some of the people who use it
Mhm.
more often, but it's still, like, is a super useful tool for me.
Mhm.
So basically, we have a new technology out. You could say, like, of course, AI has been, like, AI in general is like super old thing, like in 70s or 60s or 50s or whenever they started to do AI, like, but now they basically build a new technology which is like I now might be wrong, but it's uh, the model is based on a language, like, so it can, everything can be language. Music can be language, basically a radio wave can be language, and then this is how it, like, learns, and basically we have a new technology, nobody knows the limits. And how does it feel to be like a pathfinder in it? Like, so you're basically this you're discovering the possibilities and limitations of AI or generative AI, let's say.
For me, it's extremely exciting because curiosity is always driving me forward. I think that was the only reason why I survived as a sourcer, because you need a curiosity to be in recruitment to begin with, especially if you want to do things differently. But when it comes to generative AI, we have no idea what's coming in the next month or 2 months or 4 months. We saw an example when Sam Altman, who is the co-founder and the CEO of OpenAI, I think it was back in November when he did the keynote address, and everything seemed amazing. And then 2 weeks later, he was fired. And then in 3 days, there were 3 CEOs in the business, and you're like, what's going on? So it just shows how fragile in a way everything is. And especially for businesses who are building on top of one or the other AI tool, you really need to have a backup plan. Because for me, also, I was putting everything into kind of ChatGPT corner, and now I started to kind of differentiate certain elements and be more flexible myself. But I see so much potential. There are a lot of risks. There are a lot of challenges as well. Those need to be addressed. Even yesterday, I was reading a lot of news that in the US they're making a lot of surveys, and they're looking into how the job world is changing, and they're saying that about 40% of the population will be impacted, like the jobs will be impacted and potentially replaced by AI. So that's coming. But we need to also ask ourselves what kind of jobs are being replaced. I think you would agree that, not necessarily, we have so many jobs out there that we should not be doing in the first place. Like when I go shopping or when you go shopping, do you feel guilty that you're going to the self checkout when you buy groceries? Someone
I
lost a
do.
job, right? I mean, that's the reality. Somebody lost their job. They used to work as a cashier. That's not the case anymore. So technology is moving, and we need to remember that we are even too young potentially to remember when the 2000s were starting, how businesses were changing and how many big companies went bankrupt because they didn't explore the digital space. These
Yeah.
shifts are happening. Uh, so, uh, so, I think we're experiencing a really exciting time because this is the biggest revolution that we get to experience.
Yeah. There is always like two sides of the coin. Like, for example, here in Estonia, like we always have a problem with cashiers. Like we don't have enough of them. Like it's hard to find them.
Yep.
So in that way, and then young people most times don't want to do that. Like, and then of course the education level is quite high in here. Like, so so in a way, it's good that we are replacing them because there is nobody who wants to do it. That's yeah, and not always like in a way bad. And also a lot of jobs are created. Like there are new jobs coming. Like the craziest thing I
Yeah.
saw was like there was created a new job called like prompting something like. So basically, your job is to create prompts for ChatGPT or whatever is the
Did you
platform
did
that
you,
is
did you see
used.
how
And
much they did you see how much they pay for those
yeah,
jobs
yeah,
in the
they were
US?
paying more than 100,000 or 200,000. I was like, holy
I
shit.
Yeah, so some of the jobs that I saw were Google and Netflix. It's between 7 and 900,000 a year. I mean, it's insane.
So yeah,
Those are really technical people. But the flip side, and this is what I teach and what I try to that people would hear, that it's you know the why I call it such a crazy revolution, because we you no longer need to be technical to be good at using generative AI. You simply need to think. You need to look at things from a different perspective, have a critical thinking, and the ability to ask questions, rephrase questions differently, and then you will be unstoppable. Like yesterday, I saw quotes on LinkedIn saying that if you are afraid that you will be if your job is going to be replaced by AI, get a job in AI. And this is such a
mhm,
such a clever strategy. because there will be so many more jobs coming that we are not aware of. Like prompt engineering was not a thing a year ago. Look at what's happening right now. So I think it's a step up for everyone to jump and to, uh, you know, uh, what 10, 20 years ago, we were when we were stepping into starting a job market, we knew that okay, we need English, we need IT skills like Excel, Word, because without those basic skills, getting the jobs would, you still can get a job, but you knew that your salary would not be that good, right? So I think that now it's the same thing, that the basics of generative AI is the basic skill that you really need um, to survive moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a super interesting point because if somebody has on their CV, I can use Word, I'm like, I'm expecting that you can use it. Like,
Yeah,
and it's gonna be
this
probably the
is
same with the generative AI. Like, we will expect that you can use it, like, because it's gonna become the same as common as using like Word or Excel or whatever. Like,
yeah. And and I think that
but
the
yeah,
big challenge is that the system is not really ready. Legal system is behind. Educational system is completely in the old age. I've been collaborating with several universities, both in Lithuania and outside, and and I had these really interesting debates with those who are teaching students. Because they're saying our universities are really welcoming the use of generative AI, but how do we manage it? How do we test students? Because testing is no longer ABC, which is the right answer. It's not about writing an article or like a big paper anymore, because you can get everything done in minutes, hours sometimes, if you want the better quality. But one of the ideas that I was giving to universities, saying, look, if I was teaching a subject and I would ask you to write a paper about it, uh, I would encourage you to use the ChatGPT or any other generative AI tool, but the mark would be not the paper, but I would like to see, the paper is one thing, but it would be more important for me to see the process. So give me an example of how you started, what prompts were you using, what challenges were you facing, how were you tweaking the prompts, how were you making the content quality better, what was your thinking, then it shows that you're using your brain rather than, hey, copy paste here, I'm expecting to get the maximum number, points. That system is broken. We need to create a new system.
yeah, it's super complicated. We will see, like, because when I took the course, there is already like tools to been built to see if somebody's using AI to create like the paper, but basically
Those
it's
tools are
not possible
useless.
to detect. It doesn't work
Oh,
like
no,
so.
no, I made a post about this today on LinkedIn. Those tools are
Yeah, it
useless.
doesn't work.
Even OpenAI, they removed the tool that they originally had to identify generated, AI generated text. Um, the challenge becomes, and this is, anyone can challenge me on that, but I believe that if you're using it in the most basic way, without giving any context, without just saying, hey, I need you to write the post about this and this, and you're getting the whole thing from, the Gen AI tool, it's going to be basic as hell. And of course, the tool potentially will rank that text higher, uh, with the percentage that it was written by AI. I made an experiment, and I yesterday made a post on LinkedIn about how I was responding to the interview questions from the journalist, and I used it as a case study because I've built, a calibrated expert persona around using Lithuanian and English languages and using my voice. And I said what the answer should be, but I just wanted that it would be phrased in a much nicer, polite, but short and kind of concise way. And I did it in Lithuanian language. I didn't change a word. And you know how our languages are tricky. they're not as big as English. So we typically have still some errors, but it was so spot on. I was like, that's cool. But yeah, and I used that to change use in the detection. None of that worked. None of that is picked up as AI.
Yeah,
So don't trust that. Like
yeah, yeah,
you're going to be wasting
yeah.
your money if you're using it.
Yeah, AI expert said it's not gonna work. Anyways, I think this episode gonna be super long because it's it's
Oh,
so
good.
interesting. That I'm gonna add the last thing to that. Like, in a way, I'm happy actually because I have always felt that like in a way, school is a lot about remembering, and it does. I think remembering stuff doesn't matter. It's more important how you can think. So maybe the coming of AI will change that we have to focus more how people think, how they can like learn in the school. They need to learn how to be emotionally intelligent. Nobody is like going over that. They're not teaching anybody how to use finances and then so on.
Yeah.
Like it's all about like, do you know when this history event happened? Like, and I'm like, fuck, I
Who
don't care. It
cares?
doesn't matter. Like,
I
it just
can I
like,
give like a
yeah,
very short example my friend shared with me. So she has a son who is year 10 at school, and his biology teacher is an older woman, and that's important because she's not a techie person. She's not, she's around 50 years old, and she gave a homework looking at an anatomy subject or something, and she said, "I want you to go home and make your homework using ChatGPT, and we will discuss tomorrow why the results that you have are wrong." Now that's triggering, critical thinking, which is lacking in the educational space. And I think we need more people like that who would actually challenge the audience, your youth, to see things differently, because we can't be trusting everything that we find online. Even with ChatGPT, people need to be aware of it's a large language model, which you mentioned as well. It was trained. One of the sources that it was trained on is Wikipedia. We can't trust Wikipedia 100% because
yeah,
anyone can edit it, and we really
yeah,
need to be aware of that. And then it just becomes your responsibility to fact check. You cannot say, "Oh, that was ChatGPT's mistake." No, no, no. If you're getting it, using it as a source, you need to fact check. It's your responsibility.
yeah. I think this is a good time to move from here. What are the like main misconceptions? Like one of the things can be that people might think that everything that ChatGPT says is true, like which is not. Like it even basically made up, and you can say like, hey, like 1 + 1 is 2. Like he says, no, it's 3. Sorry, I'm wrong. Like yes, it's.
Yeah. So this was a very good example that went viral, maybe about a year ago, March, April last year. So that was already improved, and I think that right now it would give a much more accurate result. However, we need to remember that it's a large language model, so it's not necessarily going to be as effective solving math problems. It's not meant for that. Just like we don't go to Uber to watch movies. Like it just doesn't work like that, right? One of the biggest misconceptions is that it's easy, that it's fast, and that I can sit down in 2 minutes and I will have everything that we need. Uh, it is possible, but then everyone will know that you were using AI. It's the same that I have friends who do photography, and if you're looking at if you're looking at the photo and you can tell that there was Photoshop involved, that's a very bad Photoshop work that was done. It's the same with the content creation. Yesterday, I saw also an opinion by a person that I follow, Heather, that a ChatGPT is really good, really bad at content creation. I not necessarily agree fully with that, but you really need to sit down and you need to calibrate it. I call it like an expert persona. You need to give context. So for you to remove the hallucinations, because it hallucinates a lot, if because it's guessing, just like we enter on Google how to do something, we get suggestions. So when it's constructing the sentences, it's trying to guess the next word based on numerous things. It's like an algorithm, right? So also, we should not be using ChatGPT as Google. You can do so much more. I mean, an example that I like to give: imagine if no matter what your phone is, I would say, that's it, Eero. From now, you're only able to receive phone calls, and make phone calls. Does it matter what's the camera, or none of that matters? You would not be buying the most expensive phone because you would not be able to use it. So ChatGPT as technology, I mean, I honestly don't see limits of what we can do. But also, it's really important to separate that GPT and ChatGPT is two different things. It's like saying Java and JavaScript. That's not the same. Even though OpenAI made it more confusing and complicating because they are now opening their GPT store, and those are like expert personas that you can start using for different reasons. Um, and also, uh, just it's so important that you start taking responsibility for what we create with it, uh, because we can go good and bad just the same, right? Someone is using internet and email to use phishing emails, and someone is using to share stories. It's up to us to choose, but we cannot blame the technology, uh, that it in a way still allows that. But the security element is also important, especially with the GBTs. They're not secure yet. So what it means that just by entering several prompts, you will be able to crack most of the GBTs on the store, and you will see all the files, all the data, all the instructions that were there in a setup. So my conversation that I'm when I'm using it would not be visible, but you can actually look at all the instructions. So another element in misconception: um, just because that you're using it on your own account doesn't mean that you're able to put any information that you want. So sensitive and confidential information, please don't do anything with that. You don't want to train the model based on that information. So yeah, I think that these are the some of the things that do stand out to me.
Yeah, so you mentioned it's not easy and it's not like fast. Like, so what are the main like advantages that organizations can gain from using it?
Well, I want to make a remark on that. I don't know if you've noticed, but majority of people who are pushing this agenda that is going to save 12 hours of your during your week, it's going to 10x your productivity and all of that jazz. Those are the people who have a product that is related to generative AI. That's the whole point. Those who are selling the training, or those who are selling some kind of SaaS solution, they are sharing this narrative. But in reality, for you to calibrate it, it will take time. It will be really fast later on, but the very start, it will, that will take time. How companies can benefit? Oh my God, like where do I begin? You can, I can give you an example. Like you can have strategic conversations with AI, reverse the conversation. So you're being asked questions, and then for example, you say, hey, I want to build my business from 0 to 1 million euros a year. You start talking about the vision, that say, hey, can you help me clarify my customer base, my values, my services, my pricing, all of the strategic things. Some people would be in the older days where would be focusing on the business plans as big files. Now you can do those things in a very different way. You can take big chunks of data or big chunks of text, and make it, kind of divide it into if you're creating content, I don't know, you can take one article and create 20 tweets out of that. You can rewrite the whole thing. You can import a YouTube video of a podcast, and you can say, hey, summarize that. uh, you can create audio, video, photos, so many things that you can do as a business. I think that the most important part is to truly identify what is the challenge or problem that you're trying to solve, and then look what potentially is the right tool. I believe that for majority of the cases, ChatGPT will be able to solve about 80% of your business. Um, like challenges or help with. But you don't need to stop there. I'm using, for example, uh, I'm using Airtable for everything like Excel related, and I don't care about the formulas. I just go into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, I'm trying to do this and this and this. How do I? What's the formula?" And I have everything done in seconds. You can build websites. You can build landing pages, newsletters, strategies, products, services. One of a really cool thing that I hate pricing conversations. So when someone comes to me and say, "Hey, we're interested in this and this and this, and what would be the price?" And what I would do, I would just pick my phone and I would go into ChatGPT, and I have one persona that deals specifically with that. It knows my hourly rate for private customer, for business. It knows my training pricing, different packages, and it knows the kind of the changes that would need to be made if I need to travel, if it's the online or if it's in person, if it's event, and what type of business it is. And then it kind of works with that information. And I would say, hey, startup, a team of 20 people wants to get like a intro into ChatGPT, a 2 hour long and Zoom session. So I would only give this information, and straight away it spits out the price and the text that I would be using to send as an offer, because I already prepared all of that. So some would say, "Oh my God, this is cheating," and I would say, "No, I like to automate my life, so I'm more efficient and I'm not wasting time where I don't have to." Because when you're working for yourself, the first thing that people struggle is charging the fair price. And especially friends come to you like, "Oh, let me give you a discount," or "let me," you feel guilty that this is your price. But when you are consulting with AI, it will kind of stay on your side and say, "If you want to give a discount, this is what you can ask in return," and so on and so on. So it's like it kind of gives you much more space to breathe, and you start thinking in a very strategic way as well.
Yeah, I think that's a super cool example. Like what I have noticed is basically the sky is the limit. Your imagination is the limit. Like how I used it. I think the biggest thing I did was I did like a market research. So we're launching a new thing like RPO for Relancer. So we used to have it in a way, but I could do the whole market research to build a persona, like basically. And I would say ChatGPT that you are like RPO user or whatever, like, and then I could ask like, who are you? What industry? What in country? What content are you interested in? Where would you look for like education? Like I could ask everything. Like so,
Yep.
I would say like in very short time I would get like this market research that I would maybe take weeks to do.
Yep.
And the results were very good, like because like it all made sense, like
And
so
and it's
it's
also
super
really
interesting.
important. It's really important to mention that when we're doing the research, um, we need to remember that there are 2 dates that are important. One is that the model was trained up until certain dates with the information that was available online. So there's a difference if you're a paid user or a free user. The easiest way to check that, like you can ask who won Eurovision in 2023, um, because typically right now I think the dates are January 2023 or April 2023. So because Eurovision is happening in May, it would respond, I don't have this information because my cutoff date is this and this, and you would know what is the date limit that you have. So, for example, if you're doing, I don't know, a research on the local startups that you know were established in 2023, you would not have the full overview of that. Another really important element with ChatGPT, again, the difference between paid and free version, that it doesn't give you, on the free version, it doesn't give you the sources. So you have no idea where that information is coming from. Perplexity AI is much better with this kind of element. For the paid version on ChatGPT, it already started providing sources, but it's still not necessarily ideal. So these are really important elements, to think about in general.
I think one of the things that you mentioned already is that basically uh, generative AI or let's say ChatGPT it's predicting. So it's predicting the next word that you will like. So it
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's true. Like so
yeah.
what are the main like challenges and concerns which comes with it? Like
I think that those challenges and concerns they come first of all, if it when it comes to predictability. So uh, how much time are you willing to invest to give the context and information about what you do, where you are, what's your location, what's your business? uh, now as of last week, there is a new plan called Teams, where any business can have 2 seats as minimum, and this is the plan where your data is protected. So whatever data that you're using with ChatGPT, it's not training the model. That is extremely important. So then you can start playing with sensitive data. As an example, I exported my information from LinkedIn profile and I uploaded a CSV into ChatGPT with 25,000 rows of information from LinkedIn, from my own profile, and I started asking questions, of the tool that is used to be called Code Interpreter. I started asking, hey, who are the people that I was engaging the most with? Who potentially are the salesy people that I potentially might need to remove from my network, or who are the people that I potentially forgot to reply? And it analyzes, it gives you information. The concerns, again, if you are using the free or even the premium plan, plus plan, you're training the model. So you cannot put any sensitive data. If you want to remove that element, you either need to be on the Teams plan, API, enterprise plan, or remove the history, of your chats. So these are important things. But also, concerns are copyright, legal challenges. There's a lot of phishing that is happening. Today, just before our call, I got an email that looked like my hosting provider saying that, hey, your domain expired, and we were unable to process the payment. It looked spotless clean, amazing. Apart, they made few mistakes. You remember before, we would see a lot of typos, we would see a lot of juvenile kind of mistakes that you would know, oh my god, this is phishing, straight away you report and block. Now it's so much more insane. Another thing which is really scary, and not that many people talk about it. I remember when I was growing up as a kid, there was a so-called scam. Hey, mom, I got into an accident. Send me the money. Now it's taking to another level because it's enough to have 10 seconds of your voice to clone your voice, so your parents or your relatives would not be able to tell that that's not you. So actually, I was really surprised, but the Osborne family, they have their podcast, and Kelly Osborne was suggesting to have a secret word, like a password, that you need to say in situations like that to protect one another within the family, because we can get into a lot of trouble. So there are a lot of concerns in general. But also, another really big issue, I believe, is copyright. And I have a strong feeling that copyright as a concept might disappear in the next decade or so, because we really need to remember one thing, that doesn't matter what plan we're using, what service we're using, but if what we are creating is created by AI, and I'm saying not with AI, but by AI, it has zero copyright. You cannot copyright. So whether that was a logo, whether that was any visuals, like, stuff on Midjourney, and, anyone can actually take the photo that you've posted and reuse it, and you would not be able to do anything. So these are really tricky moments that we need to be aware of, not to get into trouble, further down the line.
Yeah, I think the voice cloning part was so scary for me also when I heard about, like, I was imagining my grandma getting a call from me or somebody else, like, and it's super easy to in a way do, and the quality is quite good. So
Yeah, and
so
and I
that
also
that
want
is
to add
super scary now.
another important element. We know the term fake news and deep fakes. Right now, the amount of content that is fake, but people believe that it's true, is insane. One of the speakers at the conference was saying that potentially within the next 5 years, about 90% of the content created online will be by AI. It's scary because we won't be able to separate what is real and what is not. Yesterday, my friend photographer was, she had a photo of a woman on her screen, and she was looking at it. It was a post, and me and another friend, we were sharing like an office space. We were looking. I was like, "Oh my god, this is such a cool photo." She's like, "No, no, no, this is bullshit. This was created by AI. It's obvious." And me and another friend were like, it's not as obvious. Like, if you're a photographer and you know the face nuances, maybe you can tell that something isn't right. But that photo was, I can guarantee that no one would be able to tell that that was AI generated, because it had really natural skin, freckles, even the hand was really natural, the eyes. The only way that it was a woman who has gray hair, maybe in her 60s, but her eyes were of a very young person. So maybe that was kind of the giveaway, like a really youthful eyes, but that's still possible, you know and but it's crazy. So we really need to be aware of, because even on the news, there were a lot of, right now with all the wars happening in the world, there were numerous times when big news publications, they were posting the photos that were AI generated on the first cover, saying that it's a real deal, and that's not the case. So we really need to be we need to go back to the source.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like when I took the course, so there was a marketing agency teaching those things, and the example I did for the market research was on that agency example. And basically, what the owner did, he had 10 copywriters, and he replaced them with three like prompt engineers. And then they said they do more copy, it's better quality, and then of course it's cheaper because there's three people instead of 10. Like, so that is definitely gonna be interesting. What's gonna happen in the copywriting space? Like, I haven't been able to create a really good content on like blog post with ChatGPT. Maybe I just don't know how to, but I use it to get some ideas, inspirations, to get like some kind of like base on it. But I think one of the interesting
I can
things.
try to help with that, because this is for me the most important element, that the post needs to be engaging and the post needs to sound real, that I wrote it, and it does take a while to reach that point, when we need to give feedback to the model. So I there's also another example that I like to make, is when, let's say, we are doing translation from one language to another, and in our case, our languages are kind of minority languages, right? We don't have that many millions of people speaking the languages globally. So it's really nuanced. So one tip that I say is always use the translator persona as the native speaker of the language that you want to translate into. So then potentially the language itself would be, real rather than someone who is studying the language at the university. The vocabulary might be very different. Another element that can be useful is, okay, I translated text from English to Lithuanian, and I copy that text, or we do the edits. I copy into the Google Doc, I edit some more, I paste it back. If I didn't change the meaning, but I just changed the styling, maybe the endings, that we have the unique thing in our languages as well, how the words end. Uh, I always recommend go back to ChatGPT and say, hey, thank you so much for helping me out. Your draft was a good start, but I just finished editing and I want you to look at it and analyze and learn from it, because this was the correct way of actually translating it. So then, when we're doing it in the longer term, it will start learning, and this is how we actually are training the model to do things better, because we need to tell them that, hey, this translation is actually this word, because I've heard so many friends in Lithuanian who are using ChatGPT, and they say it's creating so many crazy cool words that don't exist, and we need that patience. Imagine if that was your virtual assistant, you would tell them what they're doing wrong, right? That, like, this is how we would be doing, because you're training. Imagine if it's your trainee and you need to teach them. So I like the saying of, grab ChatGPT by the hand and lead the way. Like, you're showing where we're going, you're telling what we need to do, and you are the one, explaining what needs to be done, uh, just like we would do with the real person.
Oh, one of the things what I have noticed, I think in the last months, that email outreach, like sales email outreaches to me has like 10 times increased or something. It's happening now in recruitment. So candidates will get more outreaches because it's so much easier to write them some kind of outreach message or whatever. Like, so what do you think, how it will affect like recruitment and sourcing in general?
I see it as I see it in a way it's like a Pandora's box. We're trying, like, certain elements of AI are helping us, but then, for example, I see quite a few people online who are saying, hey, I just created this tool that will allow you to, with one click, to apply to 500 jobs at the same time. And I'm like, no, don't do that. That's not, it's not about the quantity. Like, it's about, we are really damaging the processes, it's and
Mm.
abusing the system, and making recruiters life a living hell. You know, I understand that people who are applying for jobs, they might be desperate. Then, you know what, in recruitment we have the spray and pray concept, when, you just spam anyone and you're praying for someone to respond to you. It feels like desperation is coming from the candidate's perspective, but we really need to step into the shoes of the recruiter and make their life easier, because I'm sorry, but it should be illegal for a recruiter to handle more than 20 roles at one time. I know people who are handling 70, 80 roles at the same time. It's madness. It is insane. So now imagine if you're getting these kind of application spams, and another side of the dark coin, or just the dark side of the situation, that now everyone who's rather basic, they sound extremely good on a CV and the letter, motivational letter, whatever, because it was all made with a one prompt or two prompts. The worst part is that the recruiters will know, and they potentially might just dismiss you, because, like, um, there's a difference between working with AI and doing everything by AI, that just the AI did it without your interference, right? So all the suggestions of like, hey, this is the job description of the role. Now I want my CV to sound like that. We are faking people's experiences, and we are making the recruitment process insanity. Like, if because the screening call that potentially sourcers are doing typically is around 30 minutes, and my purpose of the call would be to understand more about you, what you've done and what you want to do next, because the CV only tells me your past, it doesn't tell me your future. So I cannot assume anything, because now people want to move in the horizontal rather than vertical in the businesses as well. It's not about the titles as much, right? So, and then it's really about like really uh, tuning in and using AI to help you stand out rather than sound exactly the same. So I think that it's completely messing up the process as we know it.
Somebody, I had a like LinkedIn post, and I mentioned somewhere like something about motivation letters, and then somebody asked me who is even using them anymore. But and then I went to some companies' job sites to see career pages if they have it. Like most of them use it and have it, and I was like, it's probably gonna die out because it's useless to have a motivational letter with no
I
with
mean,
ChatGPT.
I'm
No
so
point.
I'm so frustrated when companies are asking for motivational letters. It's useless. I mean, A, it doesn't tell me much about the person. B, it can be written by just about anyone. What I recommend to people that I coach, who are looking for a job, I say, hey, record a 2 3-minute Loom video and send it in the together with the application. They will see your personality. You can talk. They will see how passionate you are about the thing that you're talking about, and they will know that those are your thoughts rather than written by someone else. You can put that into your LinkedIn and ping it as the feature post so that potential employers would see it as well. Like, there are so many ways that we can be doing things differently rather than spanning the hell out of that. So I'm extremely against those things. When candidates are using it, I remember in London, I met someone, a recruiter, who was applying to 300 jobs, and she was miserable because I straight away I asked her, "Do you want to work in-house, agency, or freelance?" She's like, "I'm flexible." I was like, "No, no, no. It cannot be all three options. You need to prioritize something, and you need to have like not to do list of stuff, or I call thank you next list in anything. It's the same for the jobs, that we kind of search for as well. So I think that is a separate debate to begin with, because it's insane. Like, what
Yeah.
how things could be done differently.
I even wonder if somebody reads them because I wouldn't want to read them. I would rather have a call with the person. Like,
Yeah, I
so,
read I read one in my
but
life.
so can you give me some examples of how somebody could use AI in recruitment? Like, because when last time I saw you, you were doing basically a workshop on
Yeah.
one of the cases, so
Yeah, so
can you give me
I don't
some
know if that was
examples?
the same example, but I think that this is one of my favorite examples, because I identified the challenge of hire managers who have no idea what they're looking for. I'm talking about, I'm a sourcer, I come to work with the recruiter, and there are challenges involved. So one of the things is the manager who has no idea what they're looking for, and then we have the job description that doesn't reflect to what the business is looking for. And that might be because maybe it's a new manager. We went to HR and they asked for an old job description. He didn't know better, and said, "Hey, okay, that's fine. Let's post it. I don't have time. Let's just go with it." Um, but the challenge becomes that it doesn't reflect to what the business needs. So my suggestion is we can create an expert persona on ChatGPT and invite the manager to sit down and have a strategic conversation. It might require potentially an hour, but you can say, hey, ask me as many questions about the role, about the team, about the business as possible, so we have a better understanding of what type of person and what type of experience or skills do we need to make our team better. So instead of just going for the old templates, we can share the templates of the format, and and say, hey, remember this as an example. We will be using this template later on, but now I want you to get the context from me. So straight away it will ask, what is needed for the person to be successful in the team, of what are the weaknesses or strengths within the team. It starts giving you really strategic questions that, trust me, any manager will be sweating while answering, because they will need to start thinking. But then, also we need to remember that men and women are looking for a job in a different way. And so far, most of the women agreed with the fact that a woman would apply to the job only if she matches 90 or 100% of the requirements. But we use so many good to haves and irrelevant things on there that we're actually women are not welcome to, like, it kind of stops women from applying, because they think that, oh, I don't match those criteria, right? So then we have that information, and then we can, after the manager is giving that, and you can say, hey, can you now create a short brief that I can send to recruiter or HR team? Can you now create a job description? What are the, can you now tell me what are the main qualities that we need? You can even start saying, hey, what are the questions that I could ask during an interview to identify whether the person has those, skills and so on. You start preparing. I'm sorry, but managers and recruiters are going into job interviews not preparing at all. I've seen that happen in so many cases, and then the candidates are frustrated. And yet we are asking candidates to go through 5, 6 rounds of interviews, case study, and it's basically a full-time day, and they're not being paid for it. So unless you're paying them, you need to really up your game as well. So it's really crucial. It's not crucial. It's such a critical time right now, and I understand that recruiters and sourcers are under a lot of heat. But if you are sticking around in the industry, you really need to up your game. You really need to understand what you're doing and be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Because if you interviewed someone, they need to get the feedback. There's no question. Like, I don't care what you're going to say, you need to give feedback. This is the minimum, what has to happen, why the person wasn't chosen. And ghosting, that should not be the case from either side. So, yeah, I'm sorry, a bit of a heated expression here, um, but yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy. I think that it's becoming harder and harder to be, to stay in recruitment. I've seen so many really good people who left because it's crazy. And for me, uh, when I'm reflecting, at the beginning of last year, I thought, oh, I'm going to become a career coach. I'm not going to do sourcing anymore. Then I started speaking at recruitment conferences locally. Then I was invited to AI meetups to talk as a headhunter, and gender, not gender, but diversity hires and stuff like that. And then I switched into AI stuff altogether. However, now I'm talking to businesses, who need sourcing as a service concept, who want to implement the sourcing strategies and stuff like that. And I was like, sure, let's blend everything into one, because we can do those things together. So I think that we need to be creative in general.
So, what kind of tips you could give to somebody who's just getting started with generative AI?
Um, that's actually a really good one. So
To
start
somebody who's a recruiter.
for someone who's a recruiter. I would say, first of all, make a list of the things that are not working for you in what you do and what you're trying, and okay, and think of, okay, these are the challenges that I have. Then you can go into ChatGPT or other tool and say, hey, I'm a recruiter, I need your help in coaching me, and you say, these are the challenges that I'm facing right now. Let's brainstorm together what I could do differently, or how I can improve the services that I'm doing. That's an example. If you are creating messages, you want to be more creative, you can say, hey, this is the outreach message that I'm using. Can you help me improve that? I want to add that it would be friendly, that it might be cheeky. I'm targeting a Gen Z, so maybe emojis should be used, and so on and so on. Start slow, start playing with it, and learn from it, because I don't think that I'm somehow special, that I'm now training people about it. Anyone who looks into this stuff, right now, you could be training people 6 months from now. That's not unreachable goal. But for those who are recruiters, please only stay in the industry if you're truly passionate about what you're doing. That's because it's not a place to play God, and recruiters need to take responsibility for the decisions that we're making as an industry, because we are really influencing people's lives big time. So, and with that comes a lot of responsibility.
And this is always the question that everybody asks, like, will AI replace recruiters and sourcers?
I've started first hearing that sourcers will be replaced by AI since 2016. Like every single year it's the same. I think that right now, I saw a post on LinkedIn that Boolean is dead, or X-ray is dead, or something like that. That it's not. We really need to be changing the way we are searching and the way we're thinking about the search to begin with. Sadly, the technologies have changed. They're making our life more difficult, and there are newer technologies. I think that where AI is gonna really do well is interpreting big data. Like, you can scrape a big bunch of information about the companies, upload a CSV, and it will identify the patterns, right? However, we need to separate sourcing. In my opinion, what is sourcing? Because most of the time, I was always reaching out to the person, and I was talking to them, having a screening call. That part, that human touch, is necessary. uh, I'm not even sure if people are ready to talk to chat and robots, 100% of time of the cases. You want to somehow, people, I believe, are in a position when they really want to know that I'm talking to the real person, not the algorithm, because that's very different. Because sometimes we're making certain decisions that someone might call, say, bias, but we are looking at bigger spectrum rather than just paper data facts. There's a lot of other things involved in the process when we are talking to someone, that you can pick up from the way they talk, from the body language and other things. So AI doesn't have that. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't have real life experiences. It doesn't have it. It is in a way an algorithm. So it's very different. So going back to the question, will it totally replace recruiters and sourcers? No. Will a lot of processes will be optimized? Focus on that part.
Yeah, this is in a way has been always Relancer vision also, because we have been always thinking that with all the automation and AI and then so on, what's going to happen is that the human touch or connection or relationships will become more important. And then that means, like, while everybody else is trying to get rid of recruiters in a way, like, or AI is maybe the trying to do that, like, we have been always thinking, okay, how we can support them, how we can, like, be there for the recruiters, like, so I think one of the cases was also, I don't know what year it was, like Facebook came up with jobs or something, and somebody told me also, like, Facebook will know when you're starting to look for a job, and then it will tell you, like, this is your next job, and you go, and there's no more recruiters needed. Like, and I don't know if Facebook jobs still is out there, or is it working? I
I
never used
mean,
it, so I don't know. But
I don't know. I have so many issues with Facebook in general. I remember when back in 2016, I was working for the company. We were an agency, and Facebook was our client, and we had a chance to meet, their team. Um, and they introduced that they were working on the secret project when they wanted to build like an algorithm or a system that would read your mind, so you would not need to type anymore, but whatever you think about would be kind of become a text straight away. That was the day when I deleted my apps, Facebook apps, from my phone, because I was like, no, I don't care about any of that. It's because it's scary. It's not the company that I want to share data with, even though I'm forced to. And I think that the model that they're having is just so bad, you know. So yeah.
okay. So with that positive note, that's it for episode 2 of Relancer Podcast. If you like this episode, feel free to subscribe and share it. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next one.
Thank you for having me, and we're gonna speak soon.